Early Church Fathers, September 11th, Origen de Principiis, Peri Archon, on First Principles, Book 3, Chapter 3. Three kinds of wisdom. The Apostle writes to the Corinthians, "We speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the world unto our glory, which none of the princes of this world knew, for had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory." 1 Corinthians 2, 6-8. Here Paul distinguishes three kinds of wisdom: the wisdom of this world, the wisdom of the princes of this world, and the wisdom of God. The wisdom of God was hidden through the ages, revealed in part to Solomon, but disclosed fully only through Christ. If Solomon's wisdom had been the highest, the Lord could not have said, "Behold, a greater than Solomon is here," Matthew 12:42. Christ's teaching is the surpassing wisdom of God, made known now for our salvation, the wisdom of this world. Since my subject is how the opposing powers deceive souls, I must describe these kinds of wisdom clearly. The wisdom of this world is found in human arts and sciences: grammar, rhetoric, geometry, music, poetry, medicine. Such disciplines help in earthly life, but they cannot train the soul for God, nor lead to the blessed life. This wisdom is real, yet limited. It deals with what belongs to time, not with eternal things. The wisdom of the princes. The wisdom of the princes of this world is different. This is the secret lore of the nations: Egyptian magic, Chaldean astrology, Indian speculations, and Greek philosophies about divine things. Scripture tells us that each nation has its spiritual prince, as in Daniel, where the angel speaks of the prince of Persia and the prince of Greece, Daniel 10:13-20. Ezekiel also describes the prince of Tyre in spiritual terms, Ezekiel 28:2. These powers set forth their own systems of wisdom. But when the Lord appeared, they opposed him. For as the psalm says, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his Christ," Psalm 2:2. By crucifying him, they revealed their blindness, for if they had understood, they would not have slain the Lord of glory. The source of false wisdom, I ask, then, when these princes communicate their wisdom, is it with treachery to ensnare mankind? Or do they act out of their own deception, sincerely imparting to others what they mistakenly hold true? I lean toward the latter. Just as heretical teachers persuade others after being persuaded themselves, so too these powers, having embraced error, press it upon the nations they rule. Each art or system of thought may even be animated by its own spirit, one inspiring poetry, another geometry, another philosophy. This explains why some Greek writers believed poetry required madness. They told of poets seized by a spirit and compelled to verse. Likewise, the practice of divination often worked through boys or prophets overwhelmed by alien spirits. Just as holy souls, purified and devoted to God, receive divine inspiration for prophecy, so souls that open themselves to hostile powers receive inspiration of another kind. They become partakers of demonic wisdom and doctrine. Doctrines contrary to Christ. When it comes to false teachings about Christ, we must ask, are they devised in malice to block faith, or are they distortions born of envy and loss? I think especially of apostate spirits who fell from heaven. Out of envy that mankind might rise where they fell, they introduced counterfeit doctrines, spreading delusion. The soul of man, while in the body, may receive movements from both good and evil spirits. Wicked spirits work in two ways: sometimes possessing a person completely, as in the cases of those in the Gospels whom Christ freed from madness and loss of reason; other times by suggestion, sowing thoughts that lead to sin, as with Judas, in whom the devil had already put the thought of betrayal, John 13:2. Good spirits, by contrast, move the soul without robbing freedom. They suggest what is holy, arousing memory, stirring conscience, encouraging virtue. The prophets and apostles spoke under such inspiration, yet always with clear mind and will intact. Why some are swayed by good or evil? Why then is one person swayed by a good spirit and another by an evil one? I believe the answer lies deeper than birth. Jeremiah was sanctified before he left the womb, Jeremiah 1:5. John leapt in Elizabeth's womb at Mary's greeting, Luke 1:41. Others, by contrast, seem enslaved to hostile spirits from birth, some even practicing divination in childhood. How is this just under divine providence? Only if souls carried prior movements of will, using their freedom for good or evil even before bodily life. Thus, some entered this life already inclined toward grace, others toward corruption. Each rational soul, whether in body or apart from it, cannot exist without motion, either toward God or away. These motions become the grounds for providential judgment, assigning souls to the conditions they now endure. Guarding the soul. So we must conclude, the suggestions of good or evil spirits that enter our thoughts are not random. Sometimes a soul, keeping watch, calls the good to itself. Other times, through negligence, it gives place to the devil, who prowls like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5:8. Therefore the heart must be guarded with diligence. Let us give no opening to hostile powers, but prepare the chamber of the soul for holy angels. If they find virtue adorning the heart, they enter gladly and guide us by their counsels, leading us toward salvation. Such, to the best of my ability, is what I affirm concerning the wisdom of the world, of the princes of this world, and of God. Against the first two I must be on guard, but to the last I must yield my soul entirely. O Augustine, the Confessions, Book 11, chapters 23 to 24, sections 32 to 33, two kinds of differences in Scripture. These things I have heard and understood, according to my weakness of apprehension, which I confess to you, O Lord, who know it. I see that two sorts of differences may arise whenever anything is related by signs, even when the reporter is true. One concerns the truth of the things themselves. The other concerns the meaning of the one who reports them. Thus, in one way I inquire about the forming of the creature, what is true, and in another way I ask what Moses your servant wished the reader to understand by these words. As for the first kind, let all those depart from me who imagine themselves to know as true what is false. As for the other, let all those depart who imagine Moses to have spoken what is false. But let me be united with those who feed on your truth, O Lord, and delight in it in the breadth of charity. With them I will search the words of your book and seek your will, through the will of your servant by whose pen you dispense them. Many interpretations, one truth. But among so many truths which inquirers may find in these words, truths discovered in different ways, who will so discover one meaning as to say with confidence, Moses thought this, or he wished this to be understood, with the same certainty as he says, this is true. Behold, O my God, I, your servant, cannot say with the same assurance what Moses meant, as I can say that in your immutable word you created all things, visible and invisible. For Moses might have meant the very beginning of creation when he said, in the beginning. Or he may have wished us to understand that heaven and earth were not yet perfected, whether spiritual or bodily, but only newly begun and formless. Whichever of these had been said, it would have been true. But which of them Moses intended, I do not perceive. Still, I do not doubt that this great man, when he used these words, saw truth in his mind and expressed it suitably, whether it be one of these interpretations or another not mentioned by me. R. Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, Part 1-2, Question 2, Articles 5 to 6. Whether man's happiness consists in goods of the body or of the soul? Objection. It seems that man's happiness may consist in goods of the body or the soul, for bodily health, strength, and beauty are prized above all earthly things. Likewise, the perfection of the soul, such as virtue or knowledge, appears more excellent than outward possessions. Surely then happiness lies in the well-being of body or soul. Responsio, neither bodily goods nor created goods of the soul are man's final happiness. The body's perfections, health, vigor, beauty, are unstable, subject to age, accident, and death. They are ordered to serve the soul, not to rule it. What is fragile cannot ground perfect happiness. The soul's own goods, such as virtue and knowledge, are higher, but still not the final end. For the soul is made by God and for God. Created virtues and sciences are steps toward him, not the end itself. Happiness is the perfect good that leaves nothing more to be desired. But the soul, even adorned with natural wisdom or moral strength, still longs for something greater, the direct vision of God himself. Therefore, while bodily goods assist life, and goods of the soul prepare and dispose us, happiness is not found in them. They are imperfect participations in the true good. Happiness is union with God alone, in whom both body and soul find their consummation. Quick Summa happiness does not consist in the perfections of body or soul, but in God alone, for these created goods are ordered to Him, not sufficient in themselves. Zach at the CrossFit gym. Zach had been training for months, lifting, running, pushing his body to its limits. One day he looked in the mirror and thought, if only I could hold on to this strength forever, I would be happy. But he knew that time, injury, or illness could undo it all in a moment. Later he turned his attention to learning, devouring books on philosophy and psychology. Knowledge thrilled him, yet as soon as he solved one problem, another opened. The more he knew, the more he saw how much remained unknown. Knowledge satisfied, but never completely. One night, after both mind and body were weary, Zach prayed. In the quiet, he realized, health and wisdom are good, but they do not satisfy forever. Only the giver of both, God Himself, can be the good that never fades. In Him alone, body and soul rest secure.